Really, this is a very, very, very great day because some of us we have not met for several years, and this has given us an opportunity to meet and shake hands. So I hope this opportunity will come from time to time to see ourselves and share our first and know what we have contributed to the power sector. I always say that people should really appreciate what you have done to the power sector in very difficult, trying period with very, very limited finances, very limited funding. Probably people may not realize that between 1990 or 89 to 1997, 1998, the whole funding, budgetary allocation was a mere $107 million. All those 7-8 years, $107 million equivalent, because you have to go through the years and calculate the prevailing exchange rates over the years to be able to arrive at that figure. So that's why the World Bank at one time said Nepa engineers were really magicians because they could not understand how we are able to operate such systems. We have done really greatly, and we really must appreciate you, and this is really the time to do so. I feel tremendously honored to be given the opportunity to meet and shake hands with my former colleagues and to be the chairman at this well sought out occasion. The managing director, Mr. Usman Gur Mohammed, and management of TCN deserve our appreciation for organizing this maiden get-together. You all know that Mr. Usman is an accountant by profession and is doing his best with commitment and dedication. You also may recall Alhaji Megida, an accountant, was the CEO of the Phcn at one time, and Malam Mubarak Al-Nafati, a lawyer, were also a CEO of Phcn. This showed that it's not only engineers who have been heading the organization. When we listen to what TCN has to say on challenges and their programs, then that will pave the way for our discussions today. We will, however, not restrict ourselves to TCN, but the entire power sector. The sector is facing serious problems of illiquidity. This is an example of a farmer who cultivated his farm and harvested and got a transporter to get the produce to the market. The seller at the market, after selling the produce, must pay the farmer and the transporter. Otherwise, the entire business will collapse. This is a very simplistic similitude. That is of Jankos, TCN, which is the transporter. However, this may be one of the issues which will generate some discussions today. I'm convinced that as we interact tonight, we will be able to offer from our wells of experience, suggestions, and ideas that would one way or the other help the TCN, indeed the entire power sector, to improve its performance and ensure a more stable and efficient power system. May I use this opportunity to commend the federal government and the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing, as well as every member of the TCN family. We have all done well, but more work needs to be done to truly revamp the power sector. On this note, I once again formally welcome you all to this occasion. Thank you.
I think the purpose of this is for us to present what we are doing in TCN. But one thing I want to tell you is that I went to a place in the presidency somewhere, and somebody said, the permanent secretary in power is a bad man. This is it. After he finished, I told the person, I said, do you think I'm doing well? He said, yes. I said, okay, if you give me 50% for what I'm doing in TCN, you should also give the PAMSEC 50%. And this is from the bottom of my heart. If Louis is not in TCN, it's not in Ministry of Power, I cannot last more than 2 months. That is the reality. And I think my colleagues can confirm this. Adeomi Lawal, I think they can confirm this. They know this is a fact, it's not a lie. He does the political issues while we do the work. So all the political issues is what I takes care of. Yes, sir. So I'm really highly honored to see you here. And I also want to tell you that he is one person that leads my bringing me from African Development Bank to Nigeria. He is the one that pushed for that. That's the so let me start. When I was asked to come to TCN, actually, the president approved my coming on the 19th of August. Abisa, is it not so, sir? 19th of August. But when the Louis and the team called me and they said whether I'm ready to come to serve in TCN, but if they said if I'm not willing to come, I should suggest somebody who should come. So I told them to give me 3 days. After 3 days, I searched and searched. Actually, there are many people who are qualified. In fact, I'm the least qualified person. But given the problem that was on the ground, it requires certain character. And if I'm honest with myself, I possess such character. So the main job is not actually about knowledge, but it's about character. And in reality, I'm not the one doing the work. I only do the hard aspect of it, take the decisions. And Engineer Adeomi, Engineer Lawal, who are here, they are the one that does the work. So the people who get the credit for all what we have done is actually Lawal and Adeomi. Me, I'm not an engineer, so they are the one that does all the work. When we came to TCN, sir, the organization that's called TCN, you remember there were various studies that were conducted between 2001 and 2005. One of the studies that was done, sir, was the change management consultancy, which was done by Red Electric at that time. That change management consultancy, which reviewed the management, looked at the staffing and the rest, had about 3 key findings. One of them was that TCN had a aging workforce. The other one was that there is the balance between the key staff and the support staff, that is the functional line staff and the support staff is not balanced, meaning there's too many support staff vis-a-vis the functional staff, meaning the engineers that are doing the job. That was one of the findings. The last but not the least important finding was that TCN was top heavy. I remember at that time TCN was called Transmission and System Operation. And TCN had 2 EDs, that is in 2005, and 10 general managers. 2 general managers in SO, and then 8 general managers in transmission. And it says that TCN was top heavy. It will interest you to know that when we took over in February 2017, TCN management was bloated from 10 general managers to 46 general managers. 46 general managers. And TCN used to have 11 general managers in 2005. Now is 134. So part of the job I was to do, which Louis can confirm, was to come and put a structure and also do to provide a structure where I can hire a consultant to review the structure that I will provide. And we did that. We did that study and we came up with a structure that will have only 16 general managers instead of 46. And then the asset general manager will be reduced from 134 to about 50. And we submitted to the government. And we suggested that in the implementation, nobody should be fired. Since there is aging workforce, then anybody who is in a structure that does not exist, and if that person retire, then you don't fill that position. So that is how we are implementing the program. But I can also tell you that within this period that Manitoba managed TCN, 4 years and plus plus 6 months or 5 months of TCN management, former management, there was no single audit of TCN. There was no single audit that was submitted. And then also procurement department was completely in shambles. I think one of the first things I did as MD of TCN, I think the second week of my coming, I have to restructure TCN. That led to the recalling of Engineer Stonak, who was the general manager in Port Harcourt, to the headquarters. And project management was very, very poor. In fact, there was a study that was conducted by the World Bank that shows TCN capacity to implement project was not more than $100 million per annum. That means the organization will never expand. So what we did, sir, is that we are able to sit down and get audit of TCN. And I think in 3 months, we submitted 2012 to 2014, and 2015 and 2015 in 3 months. When we submitted that, donors started becoming happy with us, and everybody started becoming happy with us. Now, we need to put infrastructure in TCN. We cannot say because these schools are not picking load, we cannot expand the grid. Because it's more difficult to fix the grid than to fix distribution. So, because the right of way is wider. So we have to do so many things that are novel to ensure that we fix the grid. But what we are getting from the market is less than 40% of our revenue. And with the submission that Engineer Sunusi Garba can confirm, even last year when we met there, we convinced NAC that even the tariff of TCN was below what we are supposed to get. And NAC agreed that we should submit extraordinary tariff review under the championship leadership of Engineer Sunusi Garba. So it means even what we are getting is less than what we are supposed to get. So how do you expand the grid in that format? So we need to go to multilateral donors, because we cannot even do contractor finance, because contractor finance will require you to set aside a certain part of your revenue to pay your liability when they crystallize. So for us to get the donors to provide money, we also need to prove to them, and that's why we have to do the audit. But also we need to show them that we have structure to implement the project. And that is why we created 4 implementing agencies. And even the existing project management, we insisted that everybody in the project management unit, especially the key staff, must be selected competitively. Everybody must be selected competitively. Now, we successfully advertised and we selected all the key staff. There is no single dissent from staff, because we did it transparently. Now, after we did that, we now approach the donors, and we're able to get support from the donors. And I will go through and show you all the support that we are getting from the donors. We also sat down and create what we call, our strategy, which we call Transmission, Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, which seeks to rehabilitate, stabilize, provide necessary flexibility, redundancy, and expand the wheeling capacity to 20,000 megawatt by 2021. That is our objective. That is our objective, to expand the grid by 2021 to 20,000 megawatt. Now, for us to be able to achieve that, we need to do many things. For example, we need to organize the organization, we need to computerize the organization, we need to do many, many things. But there are 4 important things that we have to achieve them. Those 4 important things are the key deliverables that we need to achieve. And one of these deliverables is the frequency control. We have to have a frequency under control. The NAC frequency standard is 49.75 and to 50.25 Hz. The WAP standard is 49.80 to 50.20. Now, if we are operating in WAP and we want to export energy outside Nigeria. Definitely we have to abide by the WAP standards. So our objective is to abide by the WAP standard of 49.8 and 50.2. So that's how we started implementing this strategy. We call all the GEMCOs because the grid code provides that all GEMCOs are supposed to abide by what they call free governor control, meaning their machines have to be on a free governor. But this was not enforced in the past. We called several meetings before we enforced it. When we enforced it, we were told that this is just going to be a start and it will not end, it will not be last, it will not last. But I can tell you that from June last year to date, we reached a frequency control about 90% of all the time at 49.5 and 50.5. And there are some generators that tried to test us, and we took them out of the grid, actually. There are about 2 generators who were able to take them out of the grid, and they saw that it's not business as usual. We also devised a strategy of reaching 49.80 and 50.2. But we discussed with the PAMSEC and our bosses, and they say it's not the right time to implement. So we are waiting for the right time to implement that. We are going to implement it. The next thing we need to have a frequent spinning reserve. If you check our daily broadcast, you will see the spinning reserve is either 0 or 40. Now, with a generation of 4,500 and to 5,000, the spinning reserve is supposed to be 10%. So we set up a committee to review why are we not getting the spinning reserve. And the answer that was coming is that the spinning reserve tariff is not good enough for the generators that we sign agreement with them. So we wrote to NAC and requested for an adjustment of the spinning reserve. We are grateful to say that NAC eventually approved our request, and we advertise for the procurement of spinning reserve competitively. I think this is the first time we have done this kind of thing in the history of the sector. I think evaluation of the spinning reserve is going on. I think, Lawal, when is it going to be ready?
In the next 2 weeks.
So in the next 2 weeks, the evaluation report for the spinning reserve will be ready. If we have spinning reserve, the grid will be further stabilized, better than what it is now. And the next thing we need to have is that we need to have a functional SCADA. This is a story that you all know. Maybe I'll just remind you that we have attempted to have a functional SCADA in TCN or in former Nepa or Phcn 3 times, and we are not entirely successful. The same time, the week I came to TCN, one of the things I did was to set up a committee on SCADA. And Engineer Lawal, who is sitting here, he was the chairman of that committee. And the TOR to them was, tell us why 3 times we attempted to have SCADA and we are not entirely successful. That was the TOR. Capacity we are going to recover in that side also. We are going to the conductor from Aba to Itu. We are going to put high capacity conductor on that side also, and several other places. And we intend that we are going to use TCN engineers to do this job, because if they can install transformer, we don't see any reason why they cannot install wires on the line. Now, the next is that after we have satisfied the donors, we also want to tell you that we have attracted significant amount of investment from the donors. And I can also tell you that things have changed. We are not doing things the way it is. We did the appraisal of the Northern Corridor project, which I'm going to come on here. And the donors told us that, if you want more money, we're ready to give you. So it's now between us and Ministry of Finance. They're even ready to give us more than what we requested. And why? Because they have seen that what we have done in the last 1 year, they have seen some level of transparency that they didn't expect it to be here. Now, let me go through this project. If you look at this, is the country. This project is called, this is Nepa. Nepa is the project that is financed by the World Bank, and it's $486 million. This project is financing only brownfield project. meaning only existing substation and line that this project is taking care of. But what this project is doing is that we are looking at putting N-1 in about 90% of the existing substations in Nigeria. 90% we want to put N-1. So meaning every transformer that goes out will not affect the supply of that area. Now, if I give you specifically some of the projects that this one will do, let me say Lagos. In Alakon, this project is going to put 1 by 300 megawatt, 1 by 300 MVA at 330, and it's going to put 2 by 100 MVA at 132. And it's doing the same thing in Lekki. And this project is rehabilitating all the GIS substations in Lagos except Apapa. Apapa is going to be rehabilitated under a grant that we have got from Japanese government. Now, if you take Port Harcourt, this project is going to put 1 by 100 MVA at Port Harcourt town and 1 by 100 MVA at Port Harcourt city. And this project is also going to reconductor the 132 kV line from Afam to Port Harcourt to give the transformers adequate power supply. If I take, for example, in the southeast, Enugu, we have already installed 2 by 60 MVA in Enugu as we speak now. But this project is also going to put 1 by 150 MVA and 2 by 60 MVA in Enugu. Now, if I come to Kano, this project at Kumboso will put 1 by 300 MVA and 1 by 100 MVA at 330 and 132. It will conductor the line from Kumboso to Kankia in Katsina, and it will also conductor the line from Kumboso to Dawindi and Kumboso to Dakata and Kumboso also to Hadeja. It will also put 1 by 100 MVA in Dawindi and 1 by 100 MVA at Dakata. If I take in the northeast, this project will put a 330 kV substation in Jalingo. You know the Jalingo line is a 330 kV line, but it was energized at 132. So we are going to put 330 kV substation by 1 by 150, 2 by 150 MVA and 2 by 60 MVA at Jalingo. Because if we energize that, that means the substation we did in Mayagelwa will not be functional, because Mayagelwa also have 132. So we are putting 330 also in Mayagelwa. So Mayagelwa will have also 330 kV substation. And this project will also put 2 by 60 MVA in Bauchi. It will also put 1 by 300 MVA at Gombe, and 2 by 100 MVA in Gombe, and also we'll put SVC in Gombe, so that it increase the capacity of the power, the voltage from Gombe downstream. This is what this project will do. This project will also make the Damaturu substation that we have completed and Maiduguri also N-1, because we are putting only 1 by 150 in Damaturu and 1 by 150 in Maiduguri. So this project will put additional 1 by 150 in both places, and it will add 66 MVA in the two stations. So this is what this project is doing. This project is almost completed, because in terms of procurement, because we started with what we call advanced procurement. We did advanced procurement. So we started the procurement even before the project effective. In fact, as we speak with you, the project is not effective. But one thing I also want to tell you is that, we changed the procurement system. Because when we came, we realized that there are about 800 containers stranded in the port belonging to TCN. And we find out what was the reason why containers are stranded. Yeah, there are some of the problem that was caused by TCN, because they didn't give the contractors duty exemption on time and the rest of it. But the main problem is because of the capacity of the contractors to be able to do the job. And that is why we took a decision to increase and change the capacity of the contractors. Now, we had a lot of disagreement with several people, but we believe that at this time we need infrastructure, so we cannot play with incompetent contractors. It will interest you to know also that out of the 800 containers that were stranded in the port, as at last week, we have recovered 699. Some of those containers were actually auctioned to some people. We have to follow them to buy it from them, but we have recovered 699 out of the 800 containers. So, but we cannot go that way again. No way, we cannot go that way. And that's why we increased the qualification criteria and also changed the procurement system. Now, every tender, major tender in TCN, we have to do pre-qualification. So if you are not qualified, you cannot bid. So we will not, so that we don't become under a pressure of contractors that will come and say, this idiot, we want to give them 5 million, and now they want to give to somebody at 10 million. So we want to be out of that. So that's how it is. So the next project is Abuja Transmission Scheme. This project, we actually inherited this project, but this project was at the verge of total stoppage. The first meeting we had with the Minister of Federal Capital, where he gave us tremendous cooperation. He was actually the one that pushed us to do that project. But the interesting that I want to tell you in this project is that the procurement of this project is completed. We did the tender 6 lots. And one, you all understand the sector. One thing that I want to tell you that has not happened in the sector before is that for this project in Abuja Transmission Project, the 6 lots that were tendered, each of the 6 lots, the lowest publicly read out price become the lowest, the winning bid. Meaning the lowest price become the winning bid, the evaluated bidder. That means everybody that is bidding know what he's doing. So because they are pre-qualified. So after the bid, we have a saving of $25 million. Yes, $25 million. That is the saving on that project. That is the saving. So this project will put 5 additional substations in Abuja. Currently, Abuja have 5 132 kV substations. This project will put 3 additional 132 kV substations. And the locations are at Lokogoma, at Gwarimpa, and then at Kuje. Then this Abuja currently have 2 number 330 kV substations. The one that was built by NIPP in Gwagwalada, and the one that has been existing, that is Katampe. Now this project is going to put 2 additional 330 kV substations in Abuja. One at New Apple, very close to the Apple village where the Apple business is. The second one is at Lugbe, around Lugbe, 330 kV substation. And this project is also bringing a new supply route, 330 kV supply route to Abuja through Lafia. So through Lafia, we're going to get a additional 330 kV line to Abuja.
I think he's done extremely well. I'm extremely proud of the presentation. And let President also to say that this is a very, very, very productive evening for me to see through this, to hear what TCN has done under his leadership. As I sat through the night, I draw a few pictures in front of me, and I said, wow, the Nigerian network is now dense. It's now connected. It used to be an empty network, an empty country without transmission line connecting the entire country. UG, you have done it. You are making us proud by the day, and I want to congratulate you. As I look through it, though, I ask myself some more challenges that we need to now begin to promote businesses so that this available transmission line that is fully energized both in the north and south of Nigeria, in the west and the east, we should begin to ask peers, what do we do to bring businesses? We need to begin to ask for industrialization of this country. I'm really suggesting that should be a takeaway tonight. Beyond that, the telephone industry taught us a lesson. They connected the whole country, and people are making money in our from our pockets. Villagers are using telephone left and right. And not only villagers, industry. So I suggest that should be encouraged. MD, yes, we are making this investment, and I'm very proud of you. I'm proud of all the staff. Most of them, my colleagues in the classroom, and perhaps one of the happiest person tonight to see what has been done by me, by all of the other colleagues who have been mentioned tonight. I think we need to begin to ask for advanced technology to protect this network against vandalization, against cyber threats, especially now that we know that we've invested so much money, but it won't cost too much for us to look outward. The role of PMU, Precision Measurement Unit, to gather data, real-time data, that we can use to measure the instability or stability of the network, so that we can provide just in time the configuration, restoration if they do occur, and of course all other functions that will make this system of the future a smart one. I really want to say that we can do it. We have the technology, we have the manpower, and we have the commitment, especially by the leadership that you had tonight. So the sky is wider open, and we at NEC, we will do our very best to support you. It's just I wish you can take over the disco. I hope they are not hearing me. And you know I get in trouble each time I say it. So maybe we have to give you a sub-disco, a sub-transmission business, so that perhaps I'm thinking very hard. Maybe the PAMSEC allow me. Do we really have enough disco yet? If we don't, maybe we need to give him some. So in other words, if he take over, I'm sure this country of ours will be the first of its kind in Africa and in the world. Again, from the bottom of my heart, my whole soul, on behalf of NEC and all the staff that want power on demand, congratulations and thank you very much.
Haji Kabiru will also say some few words.
To join us this year and congratulate my chartered accountant who turned out to be an engineer. Everybody here is a witness to the quality of Nepa, of ICANN, and the kind of training that we give our members. As we witness Omutu here and Ishaibu, who are chartered accountants that I know I recruited, and they made me very happy indeed. I just have two questions that I want to ask. I think the first one I will ask is the one that's pertaining to money, because that's really what bothers me. I want to know what happened to that lady in Damaturu that you had a contract issue with her after she has already gotten $2 million and 80 million naira and another $4 million. I really want to know, since you are connecting, you are cycling the loops, please, can you recycle this particular loop and let me understand? And then there is another issue that you mentioned, which I also know that it's one part of my life that I'm handling that matter, and that's the issue in Imo State. No, sorry, in Enugu. I know that geometric is handled, has been concession, there's a concession under geometric, under ETC, and I know that the federal government is doing something in area market. There's a project going on there. Wouldn't you have issues eventually when there is any misunderstanding that arises between the concession party and of course the people that are in the area market? And you know how the possibility of that is very, very real. Then, having gone through the system as you are doing, there are certain things that I remembered in those days, that we have propensity of industries. Well, you mentioned Kano quite a lot, what you are doing in Kano, but I remember Kano, we had Bompai, we had Sharara. If you come down to the south, you come to Kaduna, we had all the industries that we had in Kaduna, Kaduna Textiles, all the other companies that we have. Then go further down to Lagos, Acacia, how companies were just leaving the country by drops and moving down across the country, across the border to go to Ghana. How would you sell the position that you are in now? Let them understand that how far you have gone on what your plans are, so that you can win them over to come back. Particularly like Dunlop, for a start, Michelin that have led large proportion of some elements of Nestle, left the country and just run around the corner, produce there, and come right across the border and come and sell tax. That means we have thrown away all the employment opportunities that we have. But what really irks me, as I said, it really pains me, is how I know when I started back under Zoro is here, when he was in charge of Nepa and Kano, I knew how Sharada was, and I knew how Bombay was. These are now costs of what they used to be. Thank you very much.
I think it's an excellent deliberation. I have two observations for which I need some clarification. We are expanding the transmission system in Nigeria, developing more than 30 kV lines and substations. That is quite commendable. But there is this aspect of integration studies. Do we have integration studies between the development of the transmission systems with the corresponding generation systems that are coming up? Like we have the Mambina Plateau and other hydro schemes that are coming up in the country that are appreciably increasing the capacity of generation in this country. Are we having integration studies between the transmission systems and these generation systems so that system stability, grid stability, and the issue of frequency control and other aspects of ensuring that you have the adequacy of spinning reserve is ensured in the process of this development? That's my first question. My second question is, we have, sorry, not we, I'm no more part of the system. I'm sorry. There was the National Control Center in Oshogo. That has been the traditional National Control Center. It has been there for about maybe 40 years. And we also know that there is the Shinoru National Control Center. Is there any scheme for integrating the capacity of this National Control Center so that we have a very solid, stable National Control Center that can embrace the capacities we are developing in the system now? Thank you very much.
My dean in Nigeria today, they are all here. There are so many of them. But because I'm given only 2 minutes, so I don't want to start any names. You see, Usman Mohammed, what was known as Huge, is the last man standing. He is the last man standing. And we are so proud of him. That shows us what we can do. Unfortunately, the system we started, we built, has been, I want to use the word that is appropriate, has been bastardized. But we thank God that there's still one man standing. They left TCN for us. And we are running it, and we can see what we can do. And that is what the gentleman who is representing us is still in the system today. That's what he's doing, and the whole world is clapping for him. So we are really proud of him. And he's not only rehabilitating substations and lines, he's also rehabilitating human beings. I am one of those he has rehabilitated. So, Eugene Mohammed, thank you very much. You are rehabilitating everything and everybody. And we keep on praying for you. That's the only thing we owe you. Keep on praying for you. And you're doing very well. You end very well. Thank you, sir.
Session in Yes, sir. Yes, sir. No, but I just want to say that, we are supposed to pay her money, but now we are filing a counterclaim against her. And her people have signed. We went to the substation with Nigerian Society of Engineers. It was in the office of Phcn, we agree. And her people have signed, so they can't deny that. So we are claiming 300 million against her. And we have filed counterclaim against her in the court. So this is where we are. Now, on the industries in Kano and some of them moving to Ghana. No, on the issue of area market, I think that one, Phcn is supposed to speak on that one because TCN is not involved. The concession issue. Phcn should talk about it. Yes, they are the one handling it. They are the one handling it. Now, on the issue of Kano Industries, the main reason why Kano Industry collapsed is electricity. It's nothing but electricity. And the same thing is Kaduna. For Kano, that is why we are looking at everywhere, we are bringing different lines. If you look at our plan, we are planning to bring 330 kV transmission line to Kano from both sides, from different sides. One through Katsina, the other one through Duse, and the other one through Kaduna. We are building a brand new quad line, which even if you are using Phcn, it will carry at least 2,400 megawatt between Kaduna and Kano. I know there are some lines that we declare as a priority existing project that we declare a project. One of them is Oshogbo to Benin North. Another one is Katsina to Kano to Katsina, and another one is Jos to Kaduna. Because of all this to provide stability for Kaduna and for Kano. And I also want to tell you that for Kaduna, for example, we increased the capacity of the Kaduna power station by 100%. We added from it used to be 120 megawatt hour, we have increased it as at now to 240. And we have reconducted the line from Mando to Kaduna power plant, which used to carry about 80 megawatt to 240 because we put high capacity conductor. But if you look at what we have done under the eligible customer declaration also, this is the best thing that we can do to help our industries. The eligible customer declaration that was done by the Honorable Minister of Power, if you study it, is actually a revolution. And what is it? Ghana has a comparative advantage over Nigeria in terms of processes. If you are planning to do a process to register a company or an area of taxation and all, we cannot compete with Ghana. So we don't have to start fighting over that. But we can build on areas that we have advantage. There's nowhere in Ghana that they can generate electricity at the rate of less than 11 cents per kilowatt hour. Nowhere. It's more than 11 cents per kilowatt hour. And in Nigeria, if you look at the last PPA that was signed, the one of Ajib and the one of Black Rhino, I think one is 6.95 and the other one is 6.96. Abi, Oga, is that also? Yeah. So this is not even a competitive procurement. This is a bilateral procurement. So if you go for competitive procurement, it means we could get something lower than this. Therefore, I think under the eligible customer declaration, which we have signed 6 contracts now, none of them is more than 28 naira per kilowatt hour. And with 28 naira per kilowatt hour, we have signed what is called contingent liability. Even TCN, if TCN failed to perform, you are going to pay penalty. So even Adeomi, as he speak now, when I say let's sign eligible customer with this company, what Adeomi will tell me, let me check the breakers and the DC in that case. I don't want to sign yet. I don't want to sign because of the contingent liability that is going to pay if he failed to perform. So I think if we grow that one, it is going to help us. And that is why there are several policies that this government has taken that I think is in the right direction. I think the area of the disco is what we need NAC to tackle, because we need NAC to yes. We need capitalization, sir. That is the only way that we can help them. Now, on the issue of integrating study and this, yes, sir. We have done several, but I'll call on Kabiru, who is the deputy to the general manager, system planner, to say something. But there are several studies. Even the solar integration. We have actually a study that was done by GIC for us, which will tell us the quantity of solar we can inject into the network. But also, we are working to put generation in certain places to enable us to take more solar. If you look at the grid, there are certain areas that there is no generation. And that's why we are also happy with what the government is doing on this Ajakuta, Abuja, Kaduna, Kano gas pipeline. We are happy with that. And that is why PAMSEC will tell you that when they came up with the framework for the commercial framework for the NOTCO, me and PAMSEC, we disagree with them. We say we don't want that commercial framework. What we want is that electricity that will pass through the NOTCO should be procured competitively. And we are going to choose the location where the generation will be procured so that we can use that generation to also stabilize the grid. Because as at now, there's need for a generation in Kaduna, there's a need for generation in Kano. Now, that arrangement that government has entered into building a pipeline that will reach Kano, and I want to tell you that if discussed with NNPC, I think it's realizable. It will be realized. So we are working to procure a generation in Kano where we want to pass it to Niger, Burkina Faso, and Benin. The PPA will be signed by them. It's not us. Nigeria will not sign. And since African Development Bank and World Bank are the one financing the line, and they have made the PPA as a condition precedent for disbursement of the line, then they should provide partial risk guarantee to guarantee the investor that will put the generation. So that if we put a generation in Kano, then we are also further stabilizing the power supply in Kano, stabilizing the voltage, and everything will be better. On the issue of National Control Center, Lawan, can you say something? Because there are issues. The National Control Center, there are issues. So Lawan, say something on that one. It's very serious. Yes. But the SCADA, what we are talking is about National Control Center. But he will tell you issues. We have actually threatened to say, PAMSEC, we have threatened that if the problem is not solved, we are going to move the National Control Center away from Oshogbo to Shiroro. Because there's no reason why we are going to put National Control Center on a land that is rented, that does not belong to us. It doesn't make sense. One day the person can wake up and say, look, I hold your ransom. So this is not going to work. But Lord, can you say something? And then after you, Kabiru, you talk about integration.
I think Supplementary National Control Center signifies, and it is actually part of a disaster recovery management scheme. So we really intend to strengthen the National Control Center as well as the Supplementary National Control Center. And the structures are going to be re-engineered to suit the emerging practice in energy management system. So as we procure the SCADA system proper, we also intend to build a new national control center to house the facilities. And of course, the Supplementary National Control Center will also be modified to suit the emerging SCADA EMS system applications.
Thank you, Lord. So, Engineer Kabiru, can you say?
The industry is governed by rules, and these rules provide for the various studies that are necessary to run the system. We have two major documents in the transmission company that we are managing from Transmission Company of Nigeria. One is the grid code, the second one is the market rule. Both of these ruling documents have provided the need for studies. The grid code provides that we have to conduct system expansion development plan, which is supposed to be running every 5 years and for the longer term of 20 years. If you could recall, in January 2018, TCN has presented the 20 years master plan, which are a product of a study that looks at the development plan of TCN for the next 20 years. That studies actually takes into consideration the developments in the country. So it has to look at the load demand growth of the various locations in the state using statistical data from Bureau of Statistics, the state governments, and all that to project the demand, and also take into consideration the generation licenses issued by NERC to all the developers that have been shown interest to develop power plants. So the two sides of this data, the demand side and of course the generation side, have been projected into the future using the expected deadlines of the various power generation plants and the demand forecast growth to generate the transmission master plan. That has been submitted to NERC in line with the grid code for the final review and converting it to a working document. The market rules also talk about the generation adequacy studies, which also has been developed by TCN and forwarded to NERC also in line with the regulations. And the generation adequacy report tries to look at the visibility in terms of growth of generation and demand within intervals of 1 year, 3 years, and 10 years. That has been developed and has also been submitted. And for most of the projects that have been discussed by the managing director, actually they are all part of that master plan development that have been submitted to the Nigerian Regulatory Commission. Another study that was very important, which we did, is to capture the renewable energy that is coming into the grid. We have a lot of renewable energy now that are at utility level scale coming to the national grid. Those things were not envisaged when the grid code was actually developed in the first place. So we have to look at the possible impacts such integration of the renewable energy will make to the grid, because we know solar and all the renewable energy are usually intermittent. And of course, the grid has to be able to manage those intermittencies. So we have conducted another study in collaboration with the GIZ to develop a greater integration studies of the renewable energy. And in that studies, we are able to determine the capacity of renewable energy that is required, that can be accepted or admitted into the grid at various intervals of time. The first study indicated that we can, based on existing grid, we will be able to accommodate up to 1,000 megawatts. And when all the ongoing projects and the projected projects on the grid are also completed, we will be able to integrate more renewable energy into the grid. That studies has also been conducted and has been presented to NERC also for their own necessary action. So that is what I can say about the studies. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Thank you very much. So I think I've answered for the...
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube for more information on the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN.